Okay, yesterday we started learning about the Sefer Torah, covered for the Sefer Torah, and so on. Okay, a person needs to have a lot of honor and respect for Sefer Torah. It has to be put in the proper place. You're not allowed to spit in front of the Sefer Torah. You're not allowed to hold the Sefer Torah without a cover of some sort, because again, you shouldn't hold it, so to speak, this naked Sefer Torah. If you see somebody carrying a Sefer Torah, you have to stand up and you have to watch it until it sits down and put back somewhere, leaves the room, whatever it may be. Okay, next is like this. Thank you. How do I call it?
Warm.
Thank you. Now, even other Sefarim, not Sefer Torah, any Sefarim, holy Sefarim, if there's on a bench, you're not allowed to sit on the same bench. Or if there's Sefarim on the table, you're not allowed to sit on the table. It's disrespectful to the Sefarim. Now, if the Sefarim are elevated, let's say on the table, a tefach, 3-4 inches, then it's a separate domain, and therefore you could sit on the table or on the bench or whatever it is. You're not allowed to put Sefarim on the floor, that's a given. You're not allowed to put a Sefer in between your knees or, between your elbow, under your arm. All that is considered disrespectful to the Sefer, any Sefer, not only Sefer Torah. Now also there's an order of how Sefarim should be put one on the next. On top of everything is a Chumash. Underneath a Siddur, a Chumash is Nevi'im and Ksuvim. And below that, all the other Sefarim. So, L'mashal, let's say you have a Chumash in the Tilim and a Siddur. Okay, let's say you have those three things, like very common. So then is the Chumash goes on top of the Tilim, which goes on top of the Siddur. You're not allowed to put the Siddur on the Tilim, you're not allowed to put either of them on top of the Chumash. Okay? Chumash on top, then Nevi'im and Ksuvim, and then all the other Sefarim. The minig is that a Siddur, because it has Hashem's names and everything, that goes over other Sefarim. Not over a Tilim, but over, let's say, Gemara. You don't put a Gemara on the Siddur, you put a Siddur on the Gemara, because it's just tefillahs with Hashem's name and everything like that. What? It's okay? Okay, good. What?
Is a Siddur with Tehillim a Kedusha of a Siddur or Tehillim?
The same question applies. I'm going to just add to your question. A Siddur that has Kriyas Torah for Monday and Thursday, or Yom Tiv. The bottom line is still a Siddur, not a Chumash. This Sefer is called a Siddur, it's not a Chumash, it's not a Tilim. So the minig is you don't do it.
So even if you have like a Siddur and a Siddur with Tehillim, you don't have
No,
to
they're
put a
equal.
brown Siddur
They're
or a blue
equal.
Siddur.
No, they're equal. Okay, even by the way, if let's say you have a chest that has form inside it, closed chest, you shouldn't sit on top of the chest. Shas Chakat said you could, but l'chatchila you shouldn't do it. Next is like this. There's a very interesting halacha and a very interesting story. The poskim talk about stamazay to move a Sefer Torah just for the fun of it is really forbidden. For instance, a lot of times people want to take a picture with a Sefer Torah. Whatever, by mitzvah, whatever. A person wants to take a picture with a Sefer Torah. You're not allowed to take a Sefer Torah out just for a picture. That's disrespectful to the Sefer Torah. If the Sefer Torah is already out, say Kriyas Torah, and then you'll have the kids stand next to the Sefer Torah and take a picture. That's not a problem. But to take out a Sefer Torah, or even just to show people, it's very questionable in halacha. If you're allowed to take out a Sefer Torah, people come to shul, non-religious, they want to see a Sefer Torah. Can you take it out and open it up? Or kids like to do this, they want to practice Hagbah. So they'll take out a Sefer Torah from the Aron Kodesh when nobody's looking, and they'll start practicing Hagbah. So So that you're also not allowed to do. You don't take out a Sefer Torah for no reason at all. So now Allah discusses like this. In Europe, there was a minhag that when the king came to a city, the Jews would go greet the king with a Sefer Torah. They would take it out either in an Aron Kodesh or a Sefer Torah. No, they used to take it with an Aron Kodesh, but a small Aron Kodesh. And Pesach Shuvah brings down that Lokavid HaMelech, they would be metalkel and Sefer Torah. There's a very famous story. There's one city that every time the king came to he used to come often. Every time he came to the city, they would go out to greet him with the Sefer Torah. He was very impressed. After a while, the Jews said, why do we have to take out the Sefer Torah? He doesn't know the difference. We'll take out an empty Aron Kodesh. And for him, it's the same. He won't know. He never asked him to open it. So there's a Jew hater that found out this is what the Jews did. So he went over to the king. He said, you know the Jews are mocking you. They bring out, you think they're bringing out a Sefer Torah, they're bringing out an empty box. And the king said, you know what? Next time I come, I'm going to tell him to open up the box. And you're going to be right next to me, the snitcher. He's going to be right next to me. So the way the story goes, the night before the king came, the Rav of the city had a dream. And he was told by somebody in the dream, make sure tomorrow when you go meet the king, you put the Sefer Torah in the Aron Kodesh. Make sure you take it out. And the Rav was startled by it. So he called in the head of community and he told him, listen, I have this dream. I don't want anybody to know about it, but we're going to put the Sefer Torah in the Aron Kodesh tomorrow when we go meet the king. And that's what they did. The king comes with this anti-Semite next to him, and the king says to the Jews, open up the Aruch. So all the Jews got petrified. But the Rav was leading the delegation, no problem. They opened Aron Kodesh. They saw a Sefer Torah there. The king got angry at this Jew hater, he killed him. It was one of the Purims that they would celebrate in the very Sarasota. They're different. In the Purims, that was one of them. Another interesting thing is when a Sefer Torah gets ruined, that it's not usable anymore, you have to bury it. Like all the other Shemis and Sefarim, you can't even burn them. You have to actually throw them, put them in Shem, in the ground. But there's a whole process in Halacha of burying a Sefer Torah. You have to take a Sefer Torah, you have to put it into an earthenware container and bury it in the container. You just can't bury a Sefer Torah itself and bury it in the ground. You have to take an earthenware, kli cheres, as the Gemara says, L'man yamdu, the pasuk says, L'man yamdu yamim rabim. It should last for many days, and that's the way they bury the Sefer Torah. You're not allowed to burn it, and you have to actually bury it. But there's a way of burying it. What?
So if Bar Mitzvah wants to practice reading from Sefer Torah?
It's not so simple. Nowadays, it's not so simple. Years ago, like we were learning yesterday about buying Sefarim, the mitzvah of buying a Sefer Torah, the Rosh writes, today you have to buy Sefarim. But years ago, when people learned from a Sefer Torah, in fact, it's brought down in Halacha that when they're Maver Sedra, Shnai Mikveh Targum, before Shabbos, many people would do it from a real Sefer Torah.
Targum on site?
Whatever, whichever way they did, there's different ways of doing the psukim. So, the question is, nowadays, nobody does that. So it's not so simple in halacha whether a bar mitzvah kid can practice. You have a tikkun. Some people write that because it's respecting the Sefer Torah, is reading from it, you could do it. A lot of people say you shouldn't do it. Because still not the same thing. Another thing is like this. You're not allowed to throw Sefarim. You're sitting by the end of the table, guy says, okay, give me that tilm. Throw it on the table to the person. That's very disrespectful. You're not allowed to do it. Okay, another thing is, you're not allowed to turn a Sefer upside down. You're not allowed to turn a Sefer upside down. because again, it's disrespectful. Now, you can't use a Sefer, like say for instance, it's very sunny outside, and you have a Siddur, or Chumash, or whatever, and you're going to go like this to protect you from the sun. That you're not allowed to do. Or to protect you from rain, or whatever. Or you're walking the street and your friend, or you're not your friend, is coming, you don't want him to see you. So you put the Sefer in front of your eyes, all that you're not allowed to do. I mentioned many times, this is what my father held also like this, that many times the Sefer Torah goes by and people kiss it with the Siddur. In other words, it's such an extension cord. You can't reach it, so I go like this. I gain another 8 inches or so, and I can reach the Sefer Torah. Again, it's disrespectful to the Siddur. You're not using the Siddur to kiss the Sefer Torah. You're using it to extend your hand. So then you shouldn't do it, because again, it's disrespectful to the Sefer.
Kissing the Sefer Torah with your tzitzis?
That's not a problem with the talus.
Is there any Indian to it that people do it?
The Rabbi used to kiss the Sefer Torah with his talus. When he was wearing a talus and the talus walked by, he would kiss it with his talus. That's the minimum b'chlal to do with the... There's another issue, but it's getting late. The whole Shiloh we'll talk about Mishum tomorrow night. Yeah, tomorrow's Thursday. You print things, so you make copies of something. Make copies of a mimer, you make copies of a Blat Gemara, or whatever. Are you allowed to throw that out or not? And what happens, a lot of times the printing companies, when they first start the printing, there's a lot of not good papers. So question is, we'll get there, Mitzvah Shem.